Howdy folks. Today I'm going to do a video on the last little bit of wall we got to lay out. So what I'm doing now is I'm squaring up a piece of the bottom plate. This is larch. This takes the place of treated. And since I'm building this house in a panelized method, because it's so heavy, this piece here is going to go from 10 feet approximately to the other side of that J-bolt. So the length doesn't really matter. What I'm concerned with is that it's pretty close to 6 inches. It's a little over 6. It's about 6 1/16, which is okay. We can make that work. So what I'm gonna do is look at this board, make sure that it's not a banana, make sure it looks pretty good, which this one looks really good. I'm gonna cut this bad section right out. Grab my saw, let her rip. Nice square cut. That's what we're going with. So, since these anchor bolts are in the way, this is kind of a unique situation here. Normally I would put the board on the other side, on the inside, but this has to come out and meet up with this edge of this other exterior wall here. So what I'm gonna do, get that snugged up to the anchor bolts and use a square and get it close. So I gotta come this way. I'll hit this back of my hammer a little bit. It's right about there. First thing I do is mark the anchor bolts, because we got to drill those. So sometimes I can get it with my 6-inch speed square. Basically, what I'm doing here is using these lines to determine the center line of the bolt where the wall is going to set. So I'll measure in from this red line, which is the inside of the bottom plate, measure in to the center of this, duplicate that here, drill a hole. So in theory, this thing will sit right down onto those bolts, and we'll test it. Hopefully everything goes smooth. Morgan hacking in the background. COVID. So this one's going to be a little difficult once we get the wall built, because we're going to have to lift it and we're going to have to slide it over, because we're going to build the wall from here back. And not bend our J-bolt. So, what I'll probably do is just put some blocks of wood in here that are slightly higher than these bolts. That way I can stand the wall up on those, pick it up, slide it across those blocks, hopefully, or tap it with a maul, and then just wedge those blocks out, and hopefully it drops right down where it needs to go. So that's the plan. I really haven't done a wall like this yet, but it's always something new here, learning as we go. So I'm gonna take this off for now. Get a measurement. I like to use not the end of the tape measure, because it's more accurate. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and about 1/2 inch, a little under 1/2. I use a drill bit that's a little bigger than these, so somewhere in there for that mark. Oh, I'll go back here and get this one. 1, 2, 3 7/8. Somewhere in there. One, 2, 3, 4, and about 5/8. As you can see, when we laid these bolts out, they weren't perfectly centered where the wall is going to be, but that's okay. The point of the J-bolts is to hold the wall down. It prevents uplift from strong winds. So I'll just make a quick mark on these. So that's where I'm going to drill right there. You really don't even have to do that, just get it close. Like I said, the drill bit, it's a 5/8 bit. It's bigger. All right. So those are marked out. Let's drill those. Let's see what we got. The bit is MIA. That's too big. That's 1.25 inches. You put it in there yesterday.
I know, it's in here.
You probably put it in a different pocket. I'm looking for the drill. There we go.
Struggle.
One down. Two. Wood's wet. It's hard on these drills. All right, so after I drill these, we dry fit this thing. Make sure it works. So if you measure off your red line properly and the hole is nice and tight, there isn't much room for place. So you, in theory, should have a wall that goes right along your chalk line and is perfectly square as long as your chalk lines are square. So that one fits pretty good. It's a little tight here. I think I'm gonna take a nut and put it on there and bend that bolt a little bit. I can't get the thing off there. So I do this so I don't damage the threads. Stepping back, you should do that first if you really want to be precise. Get a little level and, you know, check it, look at it both directions. I went through these yesterday and straightened them up. So now once that dry fits, we figure out where our openings are, which I've already done that. Center line of type M window. That's the only opening in this wall. The next section of wall will have an opening right there. And the last section of wall will have an opening right here. So try to get this somewhat cleaned off. So now I'm going to mark this thing for the window opening. Type M window. I got to pull my drawings here. Type M window is 5x3, rough opening. Oh, someone coming. It sounded like we had some company. Normally get a lot of company up here. So 36-inch wide opening, which should match. It should match these windows over here. These are egress windows, folks. In bedrooms, you have to have a window that has enough square footage to get out. And it is code. You need to work with an architect or engineer to ensure your house meets code. If you buy plans off the internet, there's gonna be some issues. It's about 36 1/4. So same size windows in these bedrooms is what we're putting in here. So we'll mark the center line. We'll get this line back up where it's supposed to be. It's pretty close. Yep, this looks good. So grab the 2-foot square, conventional lumber thickness, rough cut, 2 inches. So there's my center line. This is going to be tricky. Flip her around this way. Line it right up. And I know off the drawings this is 3'8", so I can double check it. I'll just do a light mark there. Double check, measure twice, cut once, 3'8". So center line of the 36-inch rough opening. So I'll put it on 2. So half of 36 is 18. If I'm burned 2 inches, I need to mark 20, because that's really 18. Same thing this direction. So these lines right here are the width of the window. Now, when you frame a window, there's the jack stud or the trimmer, which your header sits on. And then next to the trimmer is the king, which is the full height stud. And that's a typical way to frame a window. Jack or trimmer, king, and you put your sills in to determine the height. And typically your headers, the bottom of your headers are 6'10" from finished floor, so concrete to this point, 6'10" typically. You can make them whatever you want. I like to align everything on the elevations of the house, so everything has a nice line across as you're looking at it. So what we're going to do now is mark out, since this lumber is 2 inches because it's rough cut, just mark out that's 2 inches, because this, again, this square is 2 inches wide. So this is trimmer, king. Same thing on this side. TK, center line of 36 inch by 60 inch window. So there's the window. Again, double check the measurements. 3'8" to the center line, and then rough opening 36 inches. Now the last thing we need to do is mark out the centers so we can fasten our drywall. Now corners are a little tricky. I'm sure there's 14 different ways to do a corner. I'm not a professional carpenter by any means, so I've been building the corner and then pulling 16 off of that. I don't know if that's a proper way of really doing it or not. I know that a lot of these corners I'm gonna have to take one out, a stud out, in order to insulate wire, etc. So I'm not really concerned about it. The main thing is that your corner's built strong and that they fasten together appropriately. So some people I've seen they build their corners. I'll do the same over here. This is just showing you. Oops, actually I screwed that up. There's supposed to be a board here. I'm sorry, I screwed that up. So this is a stud, and then you'd put a 2x6 here, 2x6 here, probably will leave this one out. I'll build this, that way I can insulate. And then I'm gonna have to put something in here in order for my drywall to get fastened as I come across. Otherwise you don't have anything to nail the drywall to, screw the drywall to in this direction. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not a professional. I don't do this every day for a living, but what I was doing is pulling my centers, you know, off of this end stud where I'm fastening the drywall, because really that's what matters. The sheeting isn't as critical as having enough, having the proper spacing into your studs to nail your finished material. So honestly, I think I'm just gonna roll my centers right off the end, and we'll go with that, just because I don't want to hold the tape measure there. So 16 on center, 24 on center, whatever you're doing. We're doing 16 here. If it's a 2-inch board, the edge of the board would hit 15 to 17 if it's 2 inches thick. So I mark 15, exit the center point, 31, exit 32. So that board is gonna, you know, it's gonna sit right here. Now, since this is in the window opening, this is actually a cripple, so I'm gonna mark that with a C. Same with this one, 47. That center is gonna fall on the trimmer and the king, so you don't need anything there. 79, that's gonna be full height stud. 95, full height. And we're less than 16 here, so we'll just do, at the end of the wall, obviously there's gonna be a stud. This is a pain in the butt with those J-bolts in the way, but usually don't use a square backwards. And stud. Stud is an X. Stud is an X. This is a cripple, so C, that really wasn't a good looking C, but it'll work. C for cripple. And one more. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 full height studs. So we'll have to get those cut out. And then I'll need 2 trimmers, which will be 6 foot 8 inch, because we already got 2 inches here. Remember I said 6 foot 10 to the bottom of the opening? This plate is 2 inches. Therefore, take 2 inches off of 6 foot 10, you got 6 foot 8. That's your trimmer or your jack, whatever you want to call it. So I'll need 2 trimmers, cut at 6 foot 8, 8 full height studs, and then I'll worry about the cripples and the sills later. Actually, I'm probably going to leave that open because this is going to be my access for my lift that I'm going to get to put the rafters in. So this won't have a sill in it. I'll have to put a piece of plywood or something to keep this from getting dinged up from the lift. Hopefully they can get over that J-bolt. We'll see, but might leave the header out too for now. Or I can build them a ramp on one of these front doors, I guess, if I have to. So that's basically the gist of it. This is not difficult. I'm not a professional carpenter, but this is not hard. Building these walls was actually not that difficult. You just got to have some drive, determination, got to stick with it. Don't overdo it every night. Morgan and I set a goal when we come here every night to get something done, and you know, it's usually do it. So it's really not too bad. So what I'll do, since I got the bottom plate marked out, I'll cut a hemlock. So walls are hemlock, but the bottom plates are larch. Larch is a substitute for treated lumber. The reason why I went with larch is because treated is 5.5 from the store. I didn't want to have that 1/2 inch gap, basically. I wanted a full 6 inch. So we went with larch, plus it's a lot cheaper. So I'm gonna cut another board the same length as this one. I'll get a measurement. I'll pull this board, put it up on the slab here, and we'll transfer all of the marks from the bottom plate right up to the top plate. That way when you put your walls together, they're, in theory, everything is perfectly straight. Everything lines up. Once that wall gets built, we'll put the sheeting on it. Before we put the sheeting on it though, we'll pull diagonals from each corner to make sure the wall is square. If the diagonal measurement is the same in both directions, that means you have a perfectly square wall. The sheeting helps hold that together. We sheet on the ground and stand up. We don't know why other people do it differently. It's kind of stupid in our opinion. Why would you want to work on a ladder? I'll sheet this. I'll sheet right over the opening, and then I'll take the router and I'll cut that right out. I've got a special bit on the router. You literally just start with a hole. You start with a hole in one corner and you can zip the opening right out. It's really fast. Yes, thank you, Morgan. This sill seal is supposed to go down underneath your bottom plate before you stand the wall up. So we've just been putting that out. I've been using it on interior walls too. That mainly is an air infiltration barrier from, you know, air blowing through underneath your wall, but it also keeps moisture off of your bottom plate. Also, this is a non-permeable material, so it does a couple things. So yeah, that's the gist of it, and we're about done with our exterior walls. One more thing. Before we stand the wall up, we always try to put a block at the intersections of the two walls. See how those walls, that's a piece of wall right there. The reason I did that is because of my my conduits. I couldn't stand the wall up from the inside. I had to go the other way, so I didn't want a huge massive piece of wall that I couldn't manage. So anyhow, we put a block on there so we can get our diagonal brace in. and that keeps both walls from moving around. I got another one there, so I'll put one, obviously this corner right here will get screwed into this existing wall, which already has a brace. That'll make a nice tight corner, but I'll put a block that overhangs here, and we'll get another 2x6 brace, 45'd and ready to go. So thanks for watching. I'm gonna do another video if I can, just slamming a wall together without me talking and sounding like a moron. So everyone have a great day. Please like and subscribe. This is intended to help people understand the basics of building your own home. Again, we're not professionals, but we're having fun doing it, and it means a lot more to us if we can do it ourselves rather than pay 3 times the money for someone else to do it.
Shout out to Caleb on his 31st birthday.
Yeah, it's my 31st birthday. As you can tell, I'm huffing and puffing. I'm fat and old. Everyone have a great day. Thanks again.